Mr. Tavano, is Brian with you?
No.
No, he's just an interested and interesting person, no doubt. Okay. All right. Does anyone have anything to say on the subject of 102 New Salem Street? Mr. Tavano? Did you want to make a case for why you believe the building needs to be torn down, Mr. Tavano?
Sure. Let's see, going back as long as I can remember, I'm a Wakefield resident. The house has been in disrepair. Last time there was before the previous owners, there was an oil company running out of the business. So they ran a business out of it. The last owners sleep in a camper in the driveway when it got really cold. And believe it or not, that house had no town water. They were pumping water from the ground, running it through that house. What else? The roof was leaking, full of rodents. I mean, the house has outlived its useful life. Dirt basement, water in the basement, as you know, it's in the floodplain, deteriorated. Part of the basement in the back is wood wall, all rotted. I've spent over $500 there for rat abatements. I have the receipts. It's just outlived its life, you know. And I purchased the property with the intention of building a duplex. Town meetings. Kind of surprised that everybody saw it because it was at a public meeting. The town voted on it because it had zoning issues on it. The lot was zoned half commercial and half residential, making it pretty much worthless. And what would have happened is, I believe someone would have closed the house and parked trucks there, and you would have had commercial vehicles on your street. So I'm going to put a new house there. Something that fits with the neighborhood. I'm zoned and I'm all approved. And, I just have to get through this one.
Yes, Mr. Tavano, I see that you purchased the property on September 1st, 2019.
That's correct.
And put a lot of money into the property itself.
Well, I paid a lot for the property, and yes, I put a lot in engineering. And
Yep.
It cost a lot of money to go to town meeting to have zoning changed. It's a tough battle, but at town meeting, I'm not sure the actual votes, but I did speak at town meeting. I believe it was 90 votes approved, not approved, which is a pretty high support from the community.
Well, you understand that our interest is in the historic building itself.
Of course I do.
Which was, absolutely, I know you do. And it was built in 1895. It is on the list of significant historic structures for not only the town of Wakefield, but for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Okay, that I
Yeah,
don't know. I'm familiar with the Wakefield list because I've reviewed it several times. This isn't my first project in town.
right.
I know there are a lot of companies on the list. You have to, from just a financial and economic point of view, to try to save it. I mean, take a close look. Yes, it does have nice architectural features. In the plans I have, I'm trying to mimic the same, you know, it's not going to replicate the house exactly, but my house that I want to build sits in the same location, same orientation, same porch on the side. There's no big garage stick out from the front. I mean, I told my architect when I'm done, I want the house to look like it's been there 100 years. And as a testament to that, I did a house on Eden Street, maybe number 23, that was a house. I think that house might have been on the significant list also. For some reason, I didn't have a problem. I bought it from the
No, it wasn't. It wasn't actually.
It wasn't. Okay. However, I have people drive by this house And they asked me if I remodeled the house, if it's always been there. It lines up with the 3 or 4 houses on the street, the same setback, everything. So.
And we are certainly sympathetic with your plans and your thoughtfulness about the neighborhood and everything else. Our function is much more narrow. We are concerned with this particular historic building and
Well, I
whether or
mean,
not it is preferably preserved.
well, I mean, if it's preferably preserved, I mean, what would you like me to do? I mean, I'm happy to put it for sale. I mean, I know
And since you did purchase the property a year ago now, you have had ample time to have applied for a demolition permit.
Well,
knowing that there would be this 6-month delay. Should the
yeah, I'm not, to be truthful, I'm not too concerned about the 6-month delay. I mean, I applied for the permit in July. It's September, October, in the middle of a PM. All the materials very expensive right now due to shortages. It's tight. I mean, I can wait out. It's not that pressing to me, to be perfectly frank.
All right, can we have some input from the commissioners? Does anyone have anything to weigh in about? All right, can I have a motion to enforce the 6-month demolition delay on the property at 102 New Salem Street? It will be a majority vote. And if anyone wants to ask questions or anything in the interim, you certainly can do that, but can I have a motion from someone, please?
I move that we delay this for 6 months.
Second.
I second.
Thank you, Jen. Discussion?
Why would you delay something if he's still going to tear it down?
Because our function here is to make a point, and perhaps he will change his mind and decide to find another buyer for it that might like to preserve the building.
I understand this, but you know, I just saw this the other day on the paper. We had the best house in Wakefield, the mansion. That went to the ground. You have a house that's on New Salem Street in a commercial industry. What's the sense? He's going to tear it down. Who's going to buy it? Someone else is going to tear it down. I don't get the point of having this poor guy buys a piece of property. He's going to enhance it, another house for the town of Wakefield. He's making the area better, not worse. The house we should have saved was the mansion. That's the house we should have been gung-ho.
And we did enforce the demolition delay on that property as well.
What happened? And then he
And
tore
that
it
is
down.
the limit, and that is the limit of our power.
Yeah. But these people, they tear it down anyway. So why make it harder for them? It doesn't make it harder. Why waste their time?
Our job is to preserve property. And some people start taking properties apart before they even look into the historical significance of them. And our job is to preserve the history of it.
And I agree with you. There's nothing wrong with that. But why don't we start raising a fund for these old houses and buy these houses up? We should put our money where our mouth is.
Well, maybe you can start such a fund.
I would love to, because I would love to save some of these houses. The mansion would have been one of them.
And we
I-
had a person who was interested in buying the mansion and preserving it. But unfortunately, she was unable to be qualified to bid at the auction. It was a complicated situation and outside the realm of our power.
Yeah.
And now, right now, we do have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of imposing the 6-month delay. And we'll need a voice for Jean. Jean, are you in favor of your motion to enforce the 6-month
Yes, I
delay?
am.
Jennifer,
Yeah, yes.
Fran,
Yes.
Therese,
Yes, I'm in favor.
Wow.
Kathlena,
Yes, I'm in favor.
Dan.
Yes.
The motion has passed and the demolition delay has been approved. So, Mr. Tabano, I wish you good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome to stay around if you want, but
I know, I may stay
moving on
around.
to other topics.
Thank you.
Right, item 3 on our agenda is the review and the approval of minutes of the last meeting. I sent you the minutes today and also right after the last meeting. Do we have any changes to the minutes, or can we have a motion to accept the minutes as written?
Motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second,
I second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank
Aye.
you. The 4th item on our agenda, my goodness, we're thundering through them. Approval of invoices. We have an invoice from the Wakefield Item Company for the publication of the public notice of the public hearing in the amount of $104.50. Can we have a motion to approve that invoice?
Motion to approve that invoice.
Second?
I second it.
Okay, we'll need a voice vote on this. Jean,
What?
are you in favor? Just
Yeah,
say yes.
I seconded it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jen,
Yes, I'm in favor.
Fran,
Yes.
Therese,
Yes.
Kathlena,
Yes.
and Dan.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that is done. Now, on the subject of historical house markers, we received a qualified application from Genevieve Rajewski and Nathan Johnson for their home at 1184 Main Street, which was built in 1895. Genevieve has done great research on the property. It's a beautiful property, Victorian. And so that their application is automatically approved for it. But I wanted to let you know that we are still having people applying for the historical home marker program. And perhaps when we get these historic house marker applications, we should ask the people if they want their properties to be considered to be on the list of significant sites.
That's a great idea.
You think so?
Yes.
Agreed.
Okay. All right. Then I'll send them a little note asking if that would be their desire.
Also, Nancy, do you want me to take a photograph of 1184 Main Street and send it?
That would be very nice, Jean. I have a picture of it here, but I doubt my technical ability to show it to you again. Here it is.
Okay, I'll take a picture of it and send it to everybody.
Okay, thank you, Jean.
It's 1184 Main Street.
1184.
Okay.
I had the pleasure of helping Genevieve with her research on it, but it was fascinating history like old houses have, and they've done a great job on preserving the house from what I can see. Now, under other matters, we have received a note from Bronwyn Della Volpe, and this email came in a while ago, but it came into me in an odd way, and so I haven't really had a chance to pass it off to you until today. I sent you a picture or images from the Facebook post of the Wakefield Civic League. Did you all get those pictures?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a picture of you've seen it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's basically an empty glass frame which has the penciled outline of a building which is gone. And the text of the Facebook post said, "Wouldn't it be cool to have these all over town to show us what the historic buildings which have been destroyed look like? We'd need more than one on Water Street at the world-renowned Wakefield Rattan Factory to show what it looked like before it was destroyed. Unfortunately, Wakefield has seen most of its best historical buildings removed with more on the chopping block all the time. What can be done to slow the destruction of our historical features?" Well, I don't know, but this frame is interesting, but I kind of doubt its effectiveness over an existing building. The way it's shown here, which is kind of over a field where part of the building still exists, I think that is great for that purpose. But in terms of our buildings that are gone, I'm trying to think where they are with regard to where someone would be watching or be able to see and imagine the outline of the building over an existing structure. Like, for example, Cyrus Wakefield's mansion over the Galvin Middle School. Or, perfect example would be the First Baptist Church, but of course, we're hoping that the church will be replaced by another church building. I wouldn't think that we'd want to remember Lanny Island, but that would be a great subject for such a frame, because in the basic open lake space, it would show the outline of that building. So what do you think about that?
I know that the Stuart Gardner Museum did something like that, where you look at the empty frame, but through 3D goggles, you can see the painting that has been stolen.
Oh, wow.
So they did it by using 3D goggles. I understand her point. I think it would be tricky because you'd have to, you'd have to have some sort of marker that showed, the Wakefield mansion on Main Street and where it actually touched, like it went all the way past the armory, like the land, to kind of mark it out that way.
Yeah, I think possibly over the where the old town hall was. So where that would be across the street from the farmland. In front of the farmland, right at the bus stop there. I would think. So I don't know how many people would actually go over there in order to enjoy that view. But I think the idea of this to show maybe in front of an image of the building immediately in front of that parking lot without having it clear glass might be an interesting
You
idea.
could almost reverse that frame and look back over towards farmland and see the old Wakefield Theater.
Right, but at least the facade is there of the theater.
I like the idea, but I think it needs to be modified. And the cost, how would it be paid for?
Well, that's another whole thing. That's another whole thing. So and possibly she has ideas on fundraising in order to pay for this. And I really can't see a whole system of them throughout the town. I understand the impulse to certainly where the Shaw's is, where the Rattan Factory was. When speaking about the Rattan Factory, of course, that was 11 acres that the Rattan Factory spread over, largely industrial buildings that were not, you know, beautiful, most of them. And most of them, a lot of them burned down in 1880, and then a significant number more over the years to end up with just the buildings that were there when Shaw's was taken down. Dan, you probably remember the Roby fire.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Maybe we could ask her, does she have a list of things she was thinking about? For example, maybe she thinks of 15 or 20, but we could only find maybe 4 or 5 of them that would really be valuable. I think it would be something we'd have to explore more of her thoughts. Maybe she could even meet with us sometime and discuss it with us.
well, I am unwilling to commit the commission's entire budget to this, and I think even one of them would wipe out the budget.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We need to know what properties we would want people to know about, and again, as we mentioned earlier, the funding. And she might have an idea of how she might raise the money.
Okay, but I think we would select the if we're involved with it, we would select the locations and the buildings that we'd be memorializing.
I agree.
So,
Nancy, what about a little research to find out what companies, like what's the technique that's out there? And then we can kind of get an idea of pricing and whether or not this is even something that we should be considering.
yeah, I will contact her and ask her if she's done any research like that.
Okay.
Because this sign seems to be in another language, so I don't think that this, although the technique would certainly be something that American companies could do. We would have to find, or she would have to find one that did it. I would think just as a kind of a pilot program, just to think of maybe showing the buildings of the Rattan Factory, just the last ones in front of Shaw's as a tableau. Although who's walking along there? I don't know. And
well, that personally, I don't think we want to touch. Weren't they supposed to do something when they built Shaw's? Weren't they supposed to do some sort of display about
Yes.
the history?
Inside the building, absolutely. And I contacted them a couple of times on it.
Right, and I don't think there's anything there.
Nope.
So,
And the building inspector actually was the officer who was in charge of making sure that the provision
the requirements.
of the provisions were carried out.
Yeah.
But it never happened.
No.
No.
So I personally wouldn't touch that one.
Okay.
But if there were others that you would consider, like I think town halls, the old town hall, and I think the Cyrus Wakefield mansion, I think those would be 2 things that maybe would be worthy to consider.
Yeah. All right.
Would it make sense to make a quick list of the sites you do want to include just for pricing reasons?
Yeah. I do think that's a good idea.
I do too. Yeah.
All right. So why don't we all think about it until the next meeting, and then come up with a short list. And in the meantime, I will contact her to see if she has any ideas about vendors. and we'll see where we can go from there.
I would say I personally really like the idea. I just struggle a little bit when I look at that picture, which is, I think the message is very significant and poignant, but it also is because there's nothing else really there besides open field and, you know, remains of a castle. And here in Wakefield, I feel like there's a lot of development. So while I think that we should continue and kind of look into this more, I think we also could consider kind of the busyness of what is really there now with all the development. Just my thoughts.
Right.
We don't want to add another kiosk.
No.
Yeah, I mean, that picture is gorgeous. I mean, I want to go there. I want to go and see whatever castle. I picture it's a castle in Scotland is what I picture. I have no idea, obviously, where it is. But I think that is, while it's beautiful there, it may not provide as a significant impact as it would in downtown Wakefield.
Yeah.
Absolutely, especially if there's no remains left to even do that kind of thing. You're actually envisioning the entire building in your head.
Yeah, while you might have like cars or another building behind it kind of intruding and not really making as clear of a point of what used to be there.
Exactly.
And if we are working with a smaller budget and these are expensive, I would just want to make sure that we're making kind of a really significant statement with putting them with purchasing these if we decided to go down that road.
Yeah. Yeah. I think your points are right on, everybody.
Yeah.
I think there are very few places where one of these will work. Maybe we have 2 or 3 places that we want to think of as a target. And so let's all think about that until the next month, and we will put that on our agenda for our meeting in October. Does anyone have anything else that they'd like to talk about?
What happened with the graveyard?
Well, a lot of gravestones got heaved up out of the ground, and they were not broken, but there were the deep roots of the trees that were turned over just brought the gravestones up, popped them up. Luckily, no people came with them. So we
early Halloween.
right. I have written to the director of the Department of Public Works and did not receive any kind of reply from him. So if somebody wants to take a little reconnaissance trip over to the old burying ground and look around, take some pictures of the ones that are still up out of the ground, it's imperative that we get these gravestones back in the ground. Oh, Joe, my associate here says he's going to talk to the director of Public Works tomorrow. And in fact, he has gone over and taken pictures of some of the stones that are out of the ground. One of the ones that troubles me the most that came up was the gravestone of General Benjamin Brown, who was a really, truly significant person in the town's history. And he lived where the Beebe Mansion is right now, Lakeside. And he served in the Revolutionary War with George Washington, and General Gates wrote letters home. And not only was he a military guy during the American Revolution, but he was also a really significant guy in the town. He was a selectman and town clerk and on the school committee, and you name it, he was involved with it. And the gravestone itself is beautiful. It has a beautiful angel on it. And it's always been one of my favorite ones in the Old Burying Ground tour. And I think everyone responds to it. And that's one of the ones that came up out of the ground. Now, Joe and my son Ben went over and tried to put it back in the ground because obviously the hole was there. But these things are really, really heavy.
Yes. Oh,
Really, really heavy. And so they were not able to do that all by themselves. So they need more help in doing that. And another member of it's in the ground, he says, but it's not totally, needs to get in better. Hopefully last for another 200 years. And another member of the Brown family got kind of cut in half, and we tried to salvage it and afraid that someone would go off with it. So yes, this is a significant concern, especially as we approach Halloween and people start thinking of graveyards and things like that. So we'll be following up on that. I invite you all to take a walk over there and look around. It's nice, a nice walk. And the Old Burying Ground tour this year is going to be virtual. So that should be interesting.
I saw a crew over there cutting down or removing a tree that had fallen down. I spotted that. And I would think the Department of Public Works would be very interested in restoring those stones. So maybe that's something that your husband can request of them.
Well, they're not interested in restoring, but we need to just get them put back in the ground.
Yeah, if they could just reinsert them where they belong, right.
Right. No one can say that the Department of Public Works didn't do a fabulous job in the cleanup and the significant amount of work
Yes,
that went on all over the town. And so I understand that putting the gravestones back was not at the top of their list, but hopefully it will have made its way up to the top soon. Any other concerns?
I actually don't have a concern. I have a question. I came across, it's the National Institute for Geological Studies, and they run a course every 6 to 8 weeks on how to research the history of a house. And I was curious if anyone has heard of this course or has even maybe taken it, had some feedback. I was considering taking it. I didn't know if anybody had even heard of it.
No, I haven't. Send me the particulars of it.
Okay, I will.
Well, we had something to that effect in the book we wrote, didn't we?
Yep. In the book and on the website is your article, Jean, on researching the history of a house. But it certainly is a topic that most people are interested in if they have their own
Yeah, because I
house
had to
and they
research.
don't want to just take it down.
I had to research the history of this house before I could restore it and get it on the National Register. That's which I thought other people would appreciate if they had an old house.
I'll take a look at that. Yeah, this one, it was like an 8-week course. It was like $80, and there was certain reading materials that went along with it.
I think you'd enjoy it.
I think so too. I just got to figure out how to kind of fit that in with everything else.
Right. You got to find 8 weeks of time.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? All right, then. We will close the meeting then. We've got a lot out in a short time.
I do have one more comment.
Yep.
I can't wait till we meet in person again.
I'm with you, Jean.
Me too. It worries me to death all day long about these Zoom meetings.
Well, I think the day would come when we could meet in the Americal Center and set up 3 or 4 of those long tables and make sure they're several feet apart because there are what, just 6 or 8 of us? I think we could wear our mask And I think that might work. But
Well, we are,
I don't think it's gonna happen for next year.
no, we are bound by what the town of Wakefield thinks is a good thing for us. So
Right.
Zoom meetings are the norm for the foreseeable future, I'm sorry to say.
Ugh.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, I'm going to adjourn the meeting now at 8:07. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, see you all
Nice
next
meeting
month.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.